Hi, everybody, and welcome to So What Happens Next. I'm one of your hosts, Thomas,
I'm Amber.
And I'm Patrick.
and this week we have a very exciting, yet people might just boycott this episode because they sure as did for this movie. Patrick, can you tell us what we're going to watch today?
Solo, a Star Wars story starring a horrible actor.
Oof. What's his name?
Alden
Alden
Eldenreich? Rich?
Eldenreich. Yeah, that
Alden
guy.
Reich.
Oy. So here it is, the fun fact. Harrison Ford approved Solo, a Star Wars story.
Well, of course he did. He wants to make more Indiana Jones.
All right, so Solo, a Star Wars story. Well, no, when you brought it up before, there is actually a scene where there's some Indiana Jones artifacts in the shot
Of
in this
course.
movie. Yeah, no,
That's
we'll
good.
we'll get there. It's in a bit. This movie, I think this movie really could have been called like Fast and Furious Star Wars or something like that because like I just want it to be not a Star Wars movie. I like it. Don't get me wrong. Solo is a good movie, but it's like the whole time that stars. It kind of did the same thing for me with like Captain Marvel. Was it's just, oh yeah, it's just really good. Oh yeah, it's a Marvel movie. Like that's right. I have to remember all this other crap that happened, backstory, lore, all this other junk that's going on,
Yeah.
as opposed to just a movie that's doing this thing. But so this movie came out what 2018, I believe.
Yes.
Came out 2018, and boy did it have some controversy with it. I mean, this movie came out on the tails of The Last Jedi, if I'm not mistaken,
hmm
and that whole like uproar that all the people made about that movie bled into this, and it was a quote unquote failure, even though it made millions of dollars. It's just no one went and saw it when it came out
Yeah.
because of all the whole protests and whatnot.
Well, they came out with other movies too, like
They did.
Disney, so it was like, why
It
go see
wasn't
that when?
released on the best time of year, I
No.
think.
Yeah.
Wasn't it a May release
It was,
last year?
yeah, they pushed it up, I think.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like right after Deadpool 2, I believe. It came out after Deadpool 2 and was bumpered against Infinity War, I think.
Yeah.
Like Infinity War came out, then Solo and Deadpool came out around the same time, and people were just sort of like, "Well, Infinity War though," and
Yeah.
it's just a really garbage time. And I mean, like it's a movie that I don't think deserved the flack that it got because there's nothing really wrong with it. I think it could have been better as a different deal. But this movie stars, like we were saying in the beginning, Alden Ehrenreich, Ehrenberger, this guy, as Han Solo. We'll get into his performance. Woody Harrelson, Emilia Clarke, Childish Gambino himself, Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian. Not Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca. This is the
R.I.P.
first movie. Yeah, R.I.P. Peter Mayhew. Um, this is the first movie I think Junice Suotamo, who's like the new Chewbacca. I think this is the first movie he did entirely just him. I could be wrong. The Last Jedi might be him and Peter Mayhew's just around. But yeah, Thandie Newton, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Paul Bettany, and John Favreau. I think cover pretty much the main cast of people that you see for the most of this movie.
Oh, what about the villain?
Yeah, Paul
Oh,
Bettany.
okay. I wasn't sure if you said
Yeah.
his name.
No, yeah, I did. It's
Okay.
him, and then yeah, I went off that good old IMDb bit, which just jeez. Um, so yeah, Patrick, this is a Star Wars movie, and they do the whole Star Wars bits. So how does this movie start?
I think it introduces Han Solo
Of
as
course.
a young brigand
Mhm.
or breaking out of jail of some sort,
Mhm.
on the run, on a chase scene, something like that.
Okay.
And he meets up with Chewbacca somehow, or maybe he's in a poker game with Lando, something like that, where he meets certain characters that will play a part in the movie, and they form together to pull off heists and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's a little too soon, but
Oh no, you're
yeah.
covering maybe minute 5 to hour 1
Yeah.
in that
Okay.
time. But you're not wrong about some parts, and like other parts you're kind of there. I think that would have been an equally as cool movie though, is like seeing them build the group and then do it, as opposed to kind of what happens at the beginning of this. So this movie does start out with a chase scene, like from the get-go. You get a speeder kind of driven by Han Solo, obviously, like whipping down these streets. I think you don't get a scroll at the beginning of this, kind of like how Rogue One didn't have one.
Okay.
I think it starts off with something like, long time ago, galaxy, all that, and then it says, "It is a lawless time." And it talks about how gangsters and the whole criminal underworld kind of control all this shit. And then this movie kind of tries to explain, I guess, a lot of the problems that people had with The Last Jedi, because it makes a really big point to be like, hyperfuel is totally a thing, and we've never talked about it before in any of these movies or anything, but like, hyperfuel is really important, and the gangsters control the hyperfuel flow. And the chase scene starts up, and do they explain the? Well, we'll get to it. Um, Chasing starts up, and it's Han Solo, and he hangs those die from the
Dice or yeah.
what? Yeah, he hangs those 2 dice from that you see Luke give Leia or whatever in the eighth movie, and he's like, oh, these are, I guess there's a lucky deal or something, and so he's coming through, he escapes, these guys are chasing him, and he runs into Amelia Clark, and it turns out that they're on the planet Corellia, which is explained as a shipbuilding planet. Like, everyone there is building ships for the Empire. And there's this woman who's like a Jabba the Hutt kind of knockoff. It's basically child trafficking.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Is she kind of recruits runaway children to work for her
Okay.
and like do jobs. So that's like kind of where him and Amelia Clark are. Is they're stuck on Corellia, and he and her are doing illegal jobs for this alien lady, not quite Jabba. And I guess this particular job was delivering hyperfuel or something, and Han gets double crossed, but he kept a vial of this fuel stuff. And him and Amelia Clark are like, oh my god, we can like bribe our way off this planet. We can finally have our own life. All we got to do is run away. And of course, like that doesn't happen. This is where it's like really blue. Is the only way I can describe this whole sequence. Is everything's lit with like a bright blue LED light. And you'll see when we watch it, it almost makes it hard to look at because it's like dark, but it's lit. It's like being in a black light. It's really
Mm-hmm.
weird. So, yeah, he steals his fuel and they get caught, obviously, trying to run away. Also, you gotta remember by this point, we haven't met Chewbacca, we haven't met anybody other than Han. Spoilers, not Solo yet. His name is just Han.
Of course it is.
So, because we need all these stupid little, like, oh, do you want to know where this came from? Do you want to know where this came from? This is where it came from. And it's just like, I didn't really ask for that, but cool. Neat, I guess. I don't care. So, this worm witch woman comes out. They bring Amelia Clark and Han to this witch worm alien lady who's the, not Jabba person. I think her name's like Proxima or something like that.
Lady Proxima.
Lady Proxima. And she's like, Han, where's my money? And Han's like, oh, dude, I lost it, but it's okay. I'll get it back. Like, at least I'm alive. Da, da, da. And she's like shitting on him, like, you don't listen to orders, you fuck everything up, like, I'm gonna punish you for this. And they go to like beat him with a stick or something. And Amelia Clark's like, no, don't do it. And she's like, don't you remember that place we found you? It was shitty. Don't throw it away for him. And we're doing, and Han, like, grows up hair and takes the stick and beats up the guards, and he's just like, I'm not gonna listen to you anymore. And she's like, okay, fine, kill him. And like this dude with a gun comes up, and he's like, oh, in the sixth movie when they do the whole thermal detonator gag with
Yeah.
T'Challa, they try to do that in this movie. They try to pull a lot from other movies in this
Yeah.
one, except in this time, it's a rock, and he goes, it's a thermal detonator. And she's like, you made that noise with your mouth. He's like, no, I didn't. And I'm like, are we really doing this right now? Like,
Wow.
this is going on. Like, it goes on for a little longer. A lot of things in this movie go on for longer than they should. And it kind of feels like they were just trying to fill out the time. And I don't really understand why. But he throws the rock and it shatters a window. And it's like, oh, okay. But apparently these monster alien people burn up in the sun. Like, they don't explain that in the beginning. They're just like, oh. And she's like, the sun, I'm melting. And, like, dives in the water. And her lackey guy, like, just closes up his helmet, and they chase Han and Emilia Clarke, and there's another car chase scene where they're driving through the streets, and they're like, we're going to escape, we're going to get to the airport equivalent for space, and then we're going to bribe our way out of here. So, what, Patrick, do you think is going to happen at the airport?
Han tries to gamble to win them a spot, and it doesn't work out, and he loses their hyperfuel to get off the planet, so they have to sell themselves as stowaways or workers onto someone else's ship to get away.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
It's not what happens.
Oh.
Well, it's kind of pretty close, but
it's again, it's like the next 20 minutes of this movie condensed into one scene, which
Yeah.
would have been cool and could have been done, but the way they do it is, they have this long car chase and the stormtrooper cops chase them. Again, like, all of these things don't have to be Star Wars. Like, you could easily have them be real cars. You could easily have them going to, like, an actual airport or checkpoint and an actual cop on a motorcycle chasing them. Instead, you have the hover car things, the alien dogs that chase them, and a stormtrooper on a hover bike chasing them. And I'm like, okay, like, this is cool looking, but it's like this movie just feels like you had a script for a completely different world movie and just said, well, what if we just mask it with Star Wars? So they actually run away. They make it to the spaceport airport thing, and they're kind of in line, like hidden, waiting, looking around. They get up to the door. They bribe the woman, and she's like, okay, fine, give me the hyperfuel and I'll let you through the gate. And she opens the thing, and then right as they're crossing the gate, the lackey guy grabs Emilia Clarke and pulls her back, and she's like, Han, run, Han, run. And he's like, no, give her back, get it back here. Stormtroopers are starting, they're locking down everything. So then Han is like hiding. It turns out he can't get on the ship because they have tickets, which I'm kind of sitting here wondering why the hell you didn't know that. I mean, you've been living here your whole life.
Yeah.
Come on. He turns, and all of a sudden you hear dun 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 dun, and it's a military registration booth. And he's like, well, the only way I'm getting off this planet is to join the Imperial military. And he's like, I want to be a pilot so I can learn how to fly and then come back here to save Emilia Clarke. And the guy's like, oh, well, let's see, what's your name? And he's like, Han. And he goes, what's the name of your people? He's like, I ain't got a people. And he's just like,
what does he mean by that when he says the name of your people?
I think it's
I was like, Skywalker is not the name of, like, your people.
Yeah.
It's just a last name like anybody else. So
I don't
it's not
know
like
why
these people are named after planets, like.
Well, I just look at it going like you have all these aliens, all these planets. Not all of them have to have last names.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Some people just
that's
a
true.
name. I feel like he should have been like anything else, and if he was just like no, like it's just me, I'm solo or something like that, and he types it in. But instead, this guard, it's like it does almost this guy was like, as long as I get to name him Han Solo, I'll be in your movie, Ron Howard. I'll be in your movie. And he's like, Han Solo. Welcome aboard, Han Solo. We'll have you flying in no time. And Han looks at him kind of like, oh, I guess that's my last name now. Like, whatever. And he joins the fucking military. So, Patrick, what happens after that?
Flash forward to him out of the military and trying to make his way back to the planet to save Emilia Clarke, or as a smuggler in the military. Maybe that's the route.
You're giving this guy too much credit.
Yeah.
You're
Damn
giving
it.
this character. They
Killing
make
me.
Han like rookie as hell in this movie. Like there is no, he has none of these smuggler skills you
Like
see
he
in
actually
Helmet.
kind of sucks, if anything. Like he gets kicked out of. Sorry. He gets kicked out of the military academy, and then he gets sent to
Yeah,
war, basically, is what I
front
gathered.
line
Yeah, front line.
infantry. We're getting Star
So
Wars
he's
Full
not
Metal
a
Jacket over
pilot
here.
at all.
Nope.
Like,
Well, no, no, no. So that's the thing they don't explain well in this movie is like it appears that he learned how to fly and he was really good at it, but they never really touch on that he was good at it. They're just like, you have problems following orders, we're kicking you out, and they're just like frontline infantry. And so you get your flash forward. We
Yeah.
flash forward 3 years, and we recognize this gag. We were watching this movie the other day. Is he's like, we'll have you flying in no time, Han Solo. Hard cut to 3 years later, Han is being flung through the air by a bomb and then lands on the ground. And he's like, what the hell's going on? You know, this guy's like, come on, we have to keep pushing forward. And then a bomb just blows him away.
yeah, and you can't see anything. Like, I was like, who's the enemy here? Because you couldn't see anything, just people shooting at each other, and it's just like, okay, possibly the people that live on that planet, I'm assuming, are the enemies.
And they sort of address it as Han asks, like, who are we even fighting? And the guy's just like, we're expanding the empire. And he's like, but these people live here. It reminds me of that
Yeah.
Futurama episode where they go to fight the planet with the balls on it, and they're just like, you may have our planet. And they're just like, wait a minute, what? This is your planet? Like, we thought you were invading it. And it's just, I don't know. It just is weird. I think the movie places this whole battle on Kashyyyk because that's you meet Chewbacca here, and he's like in a cage. And in my mind, I'm like, are they really just towing Chewbacca from planet to planet to put him in a cage? It kind of seems stupid, like a waste of resources and effort for something you clearly don't care about. But during this whole battle, guy gets blown up, and you meet Woody Harrelson, Thandie Newton, and Jon Favreau's character. They're the smuggler people.
Okay.
So they're the like already doing it thing. They're in disguise as soldiers, and Han's like, "Hey, Major said to go that way." And then Woody Harrelson's like, "Well, he blew up, so if you want to go that way, you're gonna die. We're gonna go this way because they're trying to steal a ship."
All right. All right.
And Han's like, yeah, that's what I told the major. And he goes, who's Woody Harrelson turns and he's like, well, who's the next highest ranking officer, man? Like, kind of like, leave me the fuck alone. And Han's like, well, you are captain. Because Woody Harrelson stole a captain's uniform. And so now they're just like laughing and they're like, haha, it's up to you, Captain. Oh, God, I don't remember his fucking name. Whatever Woody Harrelson's name is. They're like, oh, it's up to you, Captain Woody. And he's just like, okay. So he helps them save the day because he doesn't have anything else to do. And they need the ship. So he gets everybody out of there. And then it's like back to base camp, I guess. Han tries to leave with them because he's like, hey, you guys want to take me with you? And they're like, leave me the fuck alone. Get away from us. Don't come near us. And Han's like, well, that uniform you're wearing, Woody Harrelson, it has a couple blaster holes in it, and unless you heal really fucking quick, I think you killed a man and took it. And Danny Newton's like, oh fuck, well we gotta kill Han Solo now. So she like pulls out a gun and she like puts it like right up his chest. And he's like, or you could just take me with you. And you kind of keep waiting for them to be like, maybe that's a good idea. Let's just do it. But they never do. And Woody Harrelson goes, hold on a second. And he calls over another officer and he's like, caught you a deserter. And the guy's like, oh, I knew it. This one always caused problems. Throw him to the beast. And he's like, the beast? And then he's like, don't believe a word he says, by the way. That one's a liar. And then Woody Harrelson and the gang walk away. And they throw Han Solo in with none other than Chewbacca.
Who's like eating people.
Who's eating people?
Oh, wow.
No, they're feeding Chewbacca people. You know that thing has a taste for human flesh. Like, if Luke pissed it off in that fourth movie, Chewbacca would have ate him.
Yeah,
no doubt
ripped
about it.
his arms off, like...
Devoured him whole.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, so we meet Chewbacca. This is just so... It's another thing where you didn't need it. what do you think happens with the Chewbacca in the cage and
They start
Solo?
like circling each other, and Han
Uh-huh.
just keeps kind of evading, and he goes, "Why are we fighting each other? We should become friends and fight back against our oppressors," kind of attitude, and they become friends and they
How
escape
do you
together.
think he does that?
I don't know. Yells in Wookiee to him.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. You get this absurd. Okay, again, you know, the sixth Star Wars movie, Return of the Jedi,
Hmm.
how they have the Rancor pit and Luke
Yeah.
fights it. We're like recreating that and that thing in 5 where Chewie's in a cage and he starts to beat the shit out of
Mhm.
Lando. Is like you're in this dark, nasty cage, and then he comes out and he's chained, he's covered in mud. Han's chained to Chewbacca, and Chewbacca's beating. He's not avoiding shit. Chewbacca's beating the piss out of Han Solo. Like he's got him on the ground. He's gonna drown him in the mud. And there's two stormtroopers on the grate above who are like, "Dang it, man! I thought he was gonna kill him slower. Yeah, we want an entertainment, you stupid monster." You know, Han's like being pushed into the mud. Chewbacca's gonna drown him, and you just hear come out of Han's mouth. It sounds like he's gonna puke.
Yeah.
It's not like a kind of like
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like it sounds like they get a gargle this mouthwash real quick, and he's just
Yeah.
and Chewbacca's like, "But hey, like I agree with that," and he's like, "Yeah, I speak a little bit now. Listen." And Chewbacca's like, "Okay." And you have this shit pissed me the fuck off when we watch it. You have subtitles here that say what they're saying in Wookiee, and like Han is saying, I mean, maybe that's the gag, is that he's talking like someone who doesn't know the language. So like if someone from another country is speaking English and they're like,
It's like
me,
very broken Wookiee.
yeah, he's like,
Okay.
it's like
Like if
me
someone
so,
was,
it's like me so horny. It's like you wouldn't say
yeah.
that. It's that kind of
Gotcha.
phraseology. And he's talking to him, and like some of them are like cohesive sentences where it's like, we make secret fight and get out or something like that. And I'm like, these dudes know how to travel in space. If this is really how their language is composed to like this freakishly like broken gobbledygook, like how are these Wookiees in fucking space? Like what is this shit? And so what they do is they have this stupid secret fight, and Chewbacca kind of beats the shit out of this pole that's supporting the grate. It falls, they escape, la da da da. And third time's the charm. They run up and they get to
Woody.
Woody Harrelson as they're flying away, and Oh my God, John Farrow is this four-armed alien, creepy. It reminds me of a grub. His face,
Yeah.
it's just
Like
ugh.
the one from Thor Ragnarok. The
Gotcha.
Yeah, like
rocket.
the
Gotcha.
bug.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he reminds you of that. He's not like a bug, but he reminds you of that.
Yeah.
And he's that annoying character in these movies he's the pilot, and he's that guy who's like, "Oh, well, you never want to do this because of this life experience thing." Like I think his whole deal is like you'll never have better sleep than when in the arms of a Wookiee or something like that. Later he's like, "Have you ever tried to disinvite a Wookiee to anything? Yeah, it's a rough time." Or he's that one who has all these little quips that are like past experiences that obviously only he would know about. It's like,
Hmm.
I get it. Get out of the movie. So he convinces Woody Harrelson to, against Dandy Newton's better judgment, convinces Woody Harrelson to pick them up. They pick them up. Just because of this scene I found to be funny because of its potential. What do you think happens after they get picked up on the ship?
They're sitting around and they pull out that space chess that they played in the fourth one. Maybe they have someone else on the ship that plays Chewbacca and Chewbacca loses, but then he pulls his arms out and beats him with them.
I really was waiting for that in this movie because part of that happens, but instead, things get steamy. Hard cut to Han Solo's bare feet in the shower, and two big, fuzzy, muddy feet walk right up in between them, and it's Chewbacca and Han Solo nipple to nipple in the shower. And
Wow.
Han's just like, this couldn't have waited. And Chewbacca's like, like shrugs his shoulders. And I'm like, this is why they're friends. You go through that experience with someone, you can't come out of that enemies anymore.
Yeah.
And it's, of course, it's useless as hell scene. Like, it just happens and it's done. And I just sit there and I was like, when we watched it, I was like, we're talking about this. We're talking about this fucking scene. Because it's just, good lord. So then you get another classic thing that's in plenty of movies. You get a train heist. So I'm sorry you don't get your chess scene yet. You're like guessing all the parts of this movie in a little different order. Did you get a train heist? That's the whole thing they want them for. And you have this I think between that you have like a heartfelt round the
Campfire,
campfire
yeah.
talk. What are you
Gotcha.
in this for? What are you doing? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get Amelia Clark back. Chewbacca wants to get his family back, and Woody Harrelson wants to learn how to play some instrument. Him and Thandie Newton are like a thing, and they start making out, and John Favreau's alien is just cooking. Like, he's just there. He's like, I don't need anybody. People try to hold me down, but they can't. And it's like, they don't care about you. When are you gone? So yeah, we do this train heist where they're stealing a bunch of hyperfuel off a train because we're
Mhm.
in Star Wars and we have trains. I don't really understand this because why not just fly to another part of the planet and then drop the fuel off as opposed to taking a train through the mountains, but whatever. In the process, everyone's getting picked off one by one. So Thandie Newton's job, I think, is to like blow the tracks later, and she can't get away, so she like suicide bombs it. She dies. Woody Harrelson's like, no. He does his no for the movie. John Favreau's character. This is weird. The alien gets shot in the shoulder, right, while he's flying the ship.
Mhm.
And then he's like, "Oh no, I just got shot in the shoulder. I'll be fine." And the ship's like wavering around, and Woody Harrelson's like, "He's not gonna be fine." And all I can think is like, unless he has a heart in his
Yeah.
shoulder, why is he dying? Because they show him, and it's like right here on his shoulder. It just psst, that's it. It's like a little burn, and he's like fucking dead. Like he's just goodbye movie.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. And of course, that's time for Han to step up and pilot the ship and show how good he is at
Yeah.
piloting. So it all goes south, and at the same time, these marauders are here that they don't talk about. They like reference a name. They're like, "Oh, what if Infus Nest comes and stops us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, don't worry about it." Oh, never mind. We should have worried about that the entire fucking time because here they are. They're fighting over this train car full of hyperfuel. They're flying away from the train, and Han's like, "We can't keep it. We'll crash and we'll die because this shit will blow up." So he cuts the cord. The boxcar swings and hits a mountain and detonates, and it looks really cool. I was actually from that IMDb trivia. All the explosions of the hyperfuel in this movie are based on explosions they did underwater.
Yeah.
So it makes like this water looking bubble.
Okay.
And it's huge and it just obliterates the mountain. Like it's gone. And so nobody gets the fuel and everyone's pissed at Han because he's like, why the fuck did you do that? This gangster's gonna kill us now because we didn't get his fuel.
Yeah. And he didn't realize that like they were
Exactly.
hired to basically smuggle.
Mm-hmm. He's thought, oh, we're just stealing some fuel and
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll get a whole shit ton of money. I'll go buy a ship and I'll go
Mhm.
save Emilia Clarke's character, Kira. Um, so they're like, look, how about we just go meet this dude anyway? We'll explain it to him and we'll figure out how to fix this. So, Patrick, how do you think meeting the crime lord guy goes down?
Not good.
Mm-hmm.
Not good at all. And I bet you he runs into Kira while he's on that crime lord
Oh,
ship or
you
something.
think?
Oh
You think he might run into
I mean,
Kira?
the trailers were a little like they changed the background or set scenes a little bit there to give you a little thing. But I remember the trailer that she was in the same kind of set as the bad guy
Mm.
was. So she's probably either with the bad guy or working for the bad guy. One of those things, you know. It's
And
just the way
here,
these things go.
again, you were dead on. But yeah, so we go to the crime lord. Good lord, what is his name? Something
Something
Voss.
D. Like with a D.
Yeah, whatever. It
Drag.
doesn't
I don't
fucking
know.
matter. Like Devlin Voss or some shit. Yeah, so we meet the crime man on his yacht. And Dryden Voss is his name. Dryden Voss. Because it's space and we have to have these weird
Yeah.
fucking names. Can't just be named Joe. Yeah, so we meet Dryden Voss, played by Paul Bettany. Bettany, I think is the name.
Bettany, I think, yeah.
Bettany. He's killing it in this movie. I fucking love him as a villain. Like, he does such a good job. The thing I hate about it is ever since episode 7, these movies feel like they're trying to recapture that like cantina scene from the fourth movie.
Yeah.
Just stop. You'll never recapture the cantina. Cut it the fuck out. I'm so sick of seeing this like derivative garbage. Is you get to the top of this yacht, space yacht thing, and there's this lounge, ritzy lounge area, and of course, like the first thing it opens up on is like this woman and this alien in a tank singing some freaky, uh,
It's very
yeah,
lo-fi, like,
very lo-fi, like no time signature song, no key signature, it's fucking weird. And it does it, and it's they're singing it, and Han and Woody Harrelson are like walking around, like, oh wow, and Woody Harrelson's like, don't you like look at anybody? None of these people are your friends. I'm gonna go have a drink, you little sarcastic fuck. Stay here and don't get in trouble. Han's like, never mind, I'm not doing that. Chewbacca's like, brrr, which I guess is Wookiee for like, I'm gonna go hit up the bar or something. Because he walks away, and Han walks up, and then all of a sudden he just boom, Kira's there, and they hug, and Kira's like, "Oh, hey, it's good to see you're alive." Like she's trying to keep the sense of composure,
Mm-hmm.
and Han's just like, "Oh my God, you're alive! I was gonna come back for you. I was gonna come back for you. I was to join the thing, and I was gonna do all this. Oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. Oh my God!" And she's like, "Yeah, what are you doing here? Why are you here?" And they have like a drink, and I think this is where you see this little burn insignia on her wrist, and you could tell she's kind of coordinating people at this party. And he's like, "Oh, well, we're here to meet Dryden Voss," and she's like, "Really?" And you cut to Dryden Voss. I think they say like one of the aliens tells Woody Harrelson like, "Oh, he's busy with the regional governor," and then it cuts to his office, and he's like slicing the guy's throat, and like drops on the ground, and this cool effect on him is like, I guess as he gets angry, he has these like tiger stripe looking things. He's like an alien guy, I guess, and his eyes get really red, and these tiger stripes kind of, it's really subtle, it's not obnoxious, I think, but they like become more prominent as he gets all pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Oh hey, Woody Harrelson's here," and he's like, "Oh okay, cool, like hold on to this knife for me because I'm probably gonna need it." Like he does this cool like luxurious villain angle, and I dig it. Like I just dig what he's doing in this movie. By the way, that's one of the like most annoying fucking things about IMDb. I was looking at the trivia for this movie, and they're like, when Dryden Voss gets angry, the stripes on his face get dark. And I'm like, that's not trivia. That's just watching the fucking movie. That's like saying Luke Skywalker has a blue lightsaber because he's a good guy. It's like this stupid. So yeah, IMDb, regulate that shit. Get that garbage off there.
Yeah.
So we meet Dryden Voss. They all have like a little sit down in his office, and this is where you get the Indiana Jones stuff.
Oh,
The
okay.
little
Okay.
idol from the
Mhm.
beginning of the first one.
Nice.
He has this room full of
Yeah.
artifacts and things, and one of the shots you have it sitting on a table. Again, according to the trivia, there's like the Shankara stones and the Holy Grail are somewhere in that room too. I didn't see them,
Okay.
so
We'll
I
keep an
think that
eye out.
could be totally bullshit for all I
Yeah.
know. But yeah, we're doing that, and they have this whole like spat, or he's like, "I'm gonna kill you guys," and like, well, wait a minute, what if we? And Patrick, how do you think they talk their way out of this?
They suggest that they know of a bigger heist that they can make for hydrofuel,
Okay.
and they convince him that they're going to do it while he holds one of them ransom or something like that.
Hmm.
Mm.
Or maybe he saw the interaction between Han and Kira, and he holds Kira ransom.
No, and honestly, like he doesn't do enough on that angle. Like
Yeah.
it's really obvious. They don't do very much to hide that they have a relationship, but he doesn't seem to act on it at all. It's never really said, but it's kind of like Kira is like his top lieutenant, I think he mentions somewhere in the
Yeah.
movie. No, instead, because they never bring it up until now, is there's refined and unrefined hyperfuel. Everybody's after the refined shit because you just pick it up and go. The unrefined shit is like crazy unstable, and it'll blow up if it gets too warm or something like that. So Han's like, "What if we get you guys unrefined hyperfuel?" And they're like, "Well, we can't because these Godfather-esque relationships with other things." And he's like, "Well, we don't have that. We'll do it for you." Blah blah blah. So he's like, "Okay, cool. Go get me all this shit, and we'll call it even. I'll pay you what you gotta get paid, and you guys get out.
Yeah. But then he also has Kira go along with them.
Hmm.
Okay.
He's like, I'm gonna make sure you guys are watched. So
Yeah.
Kira, go with.
And Kira's also liable if they like fail to do.
Yeah, so it's kind of
Understood.
like if they fuck up, we're killing you too.
So it's
Yeah.
holding her ransom.
Yeah,
Sort of.
Yeah.
basically.
It's just
Yeah.
she's with
With them.
them
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
opposed to like goodbye movie, I'll see you when you get back in the third
Yeah.
act. Like, yeah, so we're doing that, but we need a ship.
Oh, and this is the Lando scene then, where he's
Hmm.
gambling for the Millennium
You think
Falcon or
it's gonna
something.
be that famous gambling scene.
Yeah, you think.
You think like a lot of things in this movie that the first time they show you something is going to be that thing they talk about in every other movie, but it's not. We save that for later.
It's just killing me.
Oh, just wait till we watch it. Yeah, so we meet Lando Calrissian, played by Donald Glover in this movie, who again is doing a kick-ass job.
Yeah.
Like it's like the man just was like, I'm gonna watch everything that Billy D. Williams does, and I'm just gonna do it. Yeah, and he does. It's just like he's just channeling that Lando Calrissian.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of this cool intro to him as he's playing cards and he's kicking ass and he's telling all these outlandish stories about himself. And everyone's like, ooh, ah, ooh. And of course, Kira knows him somehow, and Han has to play that goddamn jealousy angle. And he's like,
Yeah. The jealous boyfriend.
oh my god. He's like, who is this guy? What do you mean? What do you mean you know this guy? What do you mean you know this guy?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, Mr. Wonderful. I'll play him at cards. I'll show you. I'll show you how good I am at cards. I'll win. I'll win his ship. And so he
Yeah.
tries to hustle Lando, and he's doing a good job. But then, of course, Lando beats him in cards and gets Han's quote unquote ship that he lied about having to like ante up on the final bet. But it looks like Lando has this little robot mechanical bullshit in his wrist that gives him the card that he needs when he needs it to always win the final hand.
Hmm.
And so Han loses, and it's just like, oh shit, we're not gonna get his really cool, super awesome ship that'll make this fast.
Yeah.
Oh fuck. So then Kira just talks to him, and you kind of get Lando's like afraid of Kira because she works for what is this syndicate called?
Crimson Dawn
Crimson Dawn. Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
name of the.
Sounds
Yeah.
like a political thriller or spy thriller from the Cold War era.
I think
It
you're
does.
thinking Red Dawn.
Well, I know I know that's right on, but that's what it sounds like.
It does.
Yeah.
It does sound like that, and it's not.
But then another thing that you get with the movie is Lando's computer-esque girlfriend
Oh my god.
robot thing.
Yeah, you get his sex
That's just
bot
like you didn't
girlfriend
really
bot.
even need to include that,
No.
but she's like there by this like fighting cage with
Yeah, they're
like
making droids fight.
yeah,
Okay.
basically. And she's like yelling at them like you need to stop this, like they're just using you like, to live out their, fantasies or whatever. And she's like yelling at the guy who's like
Droids rights.
yeah,
Droids
yeah,
rights. It's
yelling at this other
obnoxious.
human or whatever, like
Yeah.
person who's like doing the
Promotion?
orchestrating the
Oh,
fight
Yeah, yeah.
basically. And then Lando's like, stop it, like I forgot her name, but
L3.
L3, and he's like, L3, cut it out, like, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's this whole. She's just like, oh, droids are sentient. Droids have rights, and she's just preaching this the whole
yeah,
movie, and it's like, it's just a little much.
Okay.
It's not. It doesn't take away from the movie to such a significant amount where you're like, this is terrible, and you should get out of here. It's just kind of like, yeah, okay, I get it. And it sort of does answer a question I always had, was like, the droids seem to be able to act of their own volition on a lot of things. Like, in the fourth movie, it just starts out with R2 and 3PO, like,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to wander the desert, figure out what to do. And I'm just like, well, wait a minute. So, like, you're sentient enough to know, like, you have to have some kind of survival instinct. But then it's like, you're also servants. Like, it kind of walks that line where it's like, are they slaves? Like, what's going on with the droids? But yeah, so Kira kind of convinces Lando, like, oh, hey, help us out. We'll give you a cut. And Woody Harrelson strong arms him and be like, you're only going to get 25%. Like, fuck you. Help us or, we'll just kill you or whatever. And so Lando's sort of low on the totem pole of the gangster underground.
Okay.
So he agrees to do it. He takes them to the Millennium Falcon. And you get a lot of jibber jabber junk. So you get all this jibber jabber junk about like, oh, we have to break into this impound lot to get the ship, and Lando tries to say, oh no, it's actually just I keep it here to be safe, and the droid has this whole performance anxiety thing cutting the bars, and Lando explains this droid is the best navigator in the galaxy. Like, she can navigate this. They have to do the Kessel Run.
Right.
So
The
you get in that
famous one,
famous
yeah,
Kessel
yeah.
Run
Mhm.
because you have to, go I think it's it's in this space storm area, and there's only one clear
Yeah.
path, and it involves making these multiple hyperspace jumps and all this whatever. And so she has to navigate them through. So they get to the Millennium Falcon, and you're gonna be like, whoa, that does not look like the Millennium Falcon because it's like clean. And he's like, yeah, I attached a escape pod in between the two teeth things on the front of the ship, blah blah blah. So it kind of comes. It has like a long nose, and it's all clean and blue and stuff. And I think it might be the first time in these movies where somebody doesn't go, "Wow, what a piece of junk,"
Yeah.
because it's not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like they do it. It's really cool. I did like this. Like just as a fan of these movies, it was really cool to see the interior of the Millennium Falcon as if it was new. So it's all white and clean, all the metals like
Yeah, instead of
polished.
just seeing it as an antique in
Right,
like
as
the
like the
latest
dingy,
movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and we spend a lot of time. So we get on the ship and they fly away to go get their dealio. And you kind of have like, it's Lando and the droid fly the ship. So you have Han wants to fly the ship, but he can't because he's not there yet. They all get on board and they fly away. You get this long sequence of like everybody having one-on-one moments with each other. So you do get your Wookiee versus Woody Harrelson chess game,
Oh, okay.
and Woody Harrelson's teaching Chewbacca how to do it. And
Oh,
so the
okay.
whole gag is, if you remember in the fourth movie when Chewie does the move on R2, Woody Harrelson's like, "You gonna make that move? You gonna make that move? You're gonna make that move. I'm gonna make this move," and does the move Chewbacca does, where the big guy kills the
Yeah.
little guy. Chewbacca gets all pissed and he's like beating the, he's trying to wipe the characters off the board. He's like, "You can't do that. They're holograms." And he's like, like all pissed off. And Woody Harrelson uses that moment to explain, like, people are predictable. You gotta think a couple moves
Yeah.
ahead. Like, that's gonna come up later. Of course it is, because that's how the movie that this is probably loosely based on did too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're doing that. Han's like, "Where's Kira? Huh?" And Woody Harrelson's like, "See, people are predictable." And so him and Kira have this moment in Lando's cape closet.
Yeah, 'cause she's trying on his capes and,
Yeah. Again, trivia moment. That cape, Lando's cape from Star Wars: The Empire Strikes
the
Back.
original one.
Well, I don't think it's the original one. I think it's just one they made up to fit
Oh,
Oh,
Amelia
okay.
Clark.
well, that's
But it's styled the same. I mean, again, this is the trivia thing where they're like, "Oh, that looks like the one from the that's what IMD. Mom, get off the phone. I gotta use the internet." Like, do this shit on whatever. They make out, and this I don't understand the relationship because they have in the beginning of the movie they're making out. They're clearly like a couple, and then all this shit happens, and Han kind of has in his head like, she still loves me, but she kind of goes back on him like that was, oh no, we weren't a thing, because she's like, so how, what's the plan? And he's makes this fucking sex joke, and he's like, well, I figured we could talk, have a drink, and then he like nods towards the bed, and he's like, and see where it goes. And she's like, I meant about Kessel. And he's like, oh, we're good on that. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? He's really like awkwardly aggressive towards her, and like starts making out. Woody Harrelson's like, am I interrupting? We got a plan to do. And then he goes and scolds Han for this. He's like, you don't know this girl. Like, you think you know this girl, but you don't know this girl, so like cut the shit. She's gonna fuck up our deal. And he's like, oh, you don't know Kira like I do, man. Like, she's blah, 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 blah. Whatever.
Typical teen angst.
Typical teen
yeah.
angst.
Like the way he acts in the movie is like total teenager.
It's so much teenager. And apparently that like is the kind of stuff that the original directors had them all doing.
Oh.
Was they were making it like a funny joke movie.
Mhm.
And that pissed off Lucasfilms because I guess I read that there was a hiatus of filming while they were changing locations, and Lucasfilms, all the execs watched the shots they had done already, and they were like quote unquote appalled by what they saw.
Gotcha.
And they were like, you two are fired. Ron Howard, do you want to be director of this movie? And they had to cut a deal with Lord Miller, but like, we'll give you an executive producership, but like Ron Howard's gonna get the director credit because he did more of this movie than you guys and all that over budget stuff. So we're doing this. You get a couple more throwaway scenes with other characters. You learn, the quick and dirty of it is the droid fucked Lando at some point, and she's like, he's in love with me, and Emilia Clarke's like, okay, what? And the whole audience is like, okay, what?
Yeah.
And she's like, how does that work? And the droid's like, it works. And I'm like, and let's cut here because this is enough. I don't need to hear about the droid
Yeah.
fucking Lando Calrissian. Like, what is that doing here? We get to their planet, Kessel Planet. They meet the people. They have this whole. It's like all the heist movies ever. Is they're all in disguises. You get Han and Chewbacca are slaves in chains kind of type thing, like faking it. Woody Harrelson's the guard pushing them, and it's just like they convince the guy, oh hey, we'll give you these like my boss wants your fuel, so let's arrange something here. These are a couple slaves. There's more where this came from. Let's talk business. So they go in and they infiltrate the base.
Yeah.
And to make a distraction, the droid rights droid is like releasing all the droid servants because it just so happens that this place, aside from the slaves, is like automated with robots. And she's like releasing them, and all the droids are like, oh, let's release everybody. So they release each other, and then they release all the slaves, and everybody's like running around free, and there's a riot occurs. And while Chewie and Han are trying to go get the fuel, they see these other Wookiees who are slaves in the mines. These Wookiees look like shit.
Yeah,
Like,
they look like they were on crack,
they
basically.
look like meth rattled, like
Like
Wookiees.
Hellboy,
Yeah,
like
it
the
looks like
newest.
the new Hellboy movie
Yeah.
is like. It looks like they said we need Wookiee costumes, and they went to like a Spirit Halloween
Yeah,
store
and
and
got the
bought
ape,
Wookiee costumes.
like,
They bought like monkey costumes
Yeah.
and then
yeah.
added hair or something.
Hmm.
It just looks so. They look like, because you have like Chewbacca standing next to him, and I'm like, I know that they were slaves in mines, and they should look pretty shitty, but these look really fake looking. I mean, like, it's an
Yeah.
alien monster, but still, they look fucking fake. And the Chewbacca's like, oh, they don't really say like, is it his family? You don't really know. He recognizes them, I guess. And he's like, I gotta save them. And so Han's like, fine, fuck, do your thing, go save them. Han gets the fuel, and Emilia Clarke, reiterates, if this fuel drops below a certain temperature, it will fucking explode and kill everybody.
Yeah.
So load these heavy things up and get them to the ship in the midst of this riot.
And this stuff is heavy too, and they need like
Which,
4 or 5 of them or
which
something.
is why Chewbacca. They
Which
need
is what, yeah.
11. They need
Mhm.
11 of these fucking
Oh
things.
wow.
And they're like, yeah, Chewbacca will help with that. Oh, never mind. Chewbacca's gone.
Yeah.
You
So
can
he's
do it.
just trying to lift this, and it's like, no, that's why you needed Chewbacca in the first place.
Exactly. So Chewbacca comes back to help him because some of the guards catch him or something, and Chewbacca and his Wookiee buddies beat up the guards. They get out. They're loading the fuel up on the ship, and they're trying to keep everybody away
Mhm.
from shooting them and shit. And the droid is like, droids' rights, freedom, hooray! And Lando is sitting on the ship the whole time, like, what the fuck's going on? Like, why is there a riot going on? And so he's out, and then all of a sudden the droid gets blown away during this fucking sequence. Like, she gets shot, and Lando loses it, and he's like, oh my god, L3, please! And he runs out there to save the droid. He gets shot in the shoulder, so he's kind of like out of commission because we got to come up with an excuse for Han Solo and Chewbacca to fly this goddamn
Right.
ship.
Yeah.
I didn't understand this because the droid gets the droid gets blown away. They're all having trouble shooting these guys back. Then Amelia Clark comes off the ship with grenades and like screams and throws the grenades and blows everybody up. And I kind of sat there going, why didn't you open with that? To blow everything up before everybody starts dying. So Han gets Lando and the droid back on. C-3PO gets blown up in that fifth movie. They blow him up, they pick up his pieces, they put him back together, and he's fine.
Yeah.
This droid gets shot, and she's just dead.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, she turned off. There's no hope in fixing her. It's like, oh, she's dead. And I'm like, we know how to do this. We can fix this right now. Give her to Chewbacca, fix it. Instead, they plug her brain into the ship because they want the navigational shit. They're flying out, and they're like, oh my god, we're home free. Oh fuck, it's an Imperial Star Destroyer blocking the little tunnel.
Yeah.
TIE fighters get sent after him, and they're like, oh shit, what do we do? And so Han's like, I'll fly it. And then him and I think Chewbacca gets in the passenger seat. Well, you get the legendary Kessel Run because Han's like, they're like, that's the only way out of here. And he's like, well, then we're going to go a different way. And he just dives into the space storm thing where they say there's like giant frozen blocks of carbon smashing into each other and shit. And there might or might not be other stuff out there. So we're diving into the storm, Patrick. What do you think happens in the storm?
I have no clue. It's 12 parsecs he makes, or whatever a parsec is at this point in time. They never
Hmm.
really explain that in any of the
No.
earlier movies, so I don't know if they explain it in this one.
They do. So they say. I guess I gotta rewind it, but this tunnel is 14 parsecs or
Okay,
whatever, or is the correct amount. And the only way you can do this run is to go through this set distance. You could, cut across, but you're going through this
mm,
Yeah. They
unmapped
call it the
region.
mall,
The
and
mall
like
oh,
thing,
you don't
yeah.
know what's out there.
Right. So we have to cut across the mall. So what's in the mall? What's going on there? We got TIE fighters chasing them, Han's flying the Falcon.
I gotta think there's really nothing going on in there. That it's just
Mhm.
all made up and it's a myth.
No, oh, well, that would be interesting. And he just doesn't tell anybody to keep the record. No, instead we get this wacko long sequence of they're evading the TIE fighters, like the fifth movie when they're in the asteroid belt.
Yeah,
They're pulling these crazy moves where the TIE fighters are getting destroyed, Woody Harrelson's shooting them on the gun, blah blah blah. And then out of fucking nowhere, this giant space squid monster is like living in there. And it starts chasing them. And they're like, what the fuck? Like, how do we get away? And then Lando explains, oh no, there's this thing in the mall. It's like a gravity well, like a black hole.
Mhm.
And they're falling into it, and the monster's chasing them. And it's just like, what are we doing? So I looked up that Ron Howard refilmed 80% of this movie,
right.
and Lord and Miller filmed 20%. Therefore, 20% of the movie. I got a sneaking suspicion that this was the 20% because it just feels different, and it feels like it's something from a different movie that they put in here.
Gotcha.
And like they're getting chased by this monster. They're like, how do we get out? Blah 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 blah. They get the monster. They trick the monster, and it's kind of cool looking because you watch like the skin get ripped off it and all this shit. And they're like, how do we get out of there? So how, Patrick, do they escape the monster?
He goes down the black hole.
No, no, like how? Okay, oh, I should say he goes down the black hole. They're getting stuck in the black hole now. So how do they escape the black hole?
Oh, they throw out the unstable hydro fuel. Yeah.
Of course they
Nice.
do.
And what is that? That's what? The first Star Trek? The newer one? Yeah.
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 It's like, well, what if we just eject the warp drive? I mean,
Yeah.
put the unstable hyperfuel in the hyperdrive,
Yeah.
and that's what fucking happens. Exactly like the 2009 Star Trek. They drive the fuel. It somehow gives them crazy like speed. To which I sat there thinking like, why don't you just keep that as your fuel
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
cool it on board your ship, and you're gonna be going like fucking crazy? Because they show the refined stuff is like a tiny crystal. These things are big, huge tanks full of liquid. I'm like, this is a lot more fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So they get out of there, and it's straight back to the other planet they were just on. And yeah, Kira tells Han like, we can't happen because I'm a terrible person and you're a good person. And Han's like, I'm not a good person, baby. I'm a bad person. And it's just like, why would I believe that? Like, you're not. It's just, oh God,
It's kind of cringeworthy.
it is. And the Marauders show up, and they're just like, oh, by the way, Crimson Dawn is terrible. That crime syndicate, they're criminal. And
Because
every
there's like apparently people living there,
right.
and at this
This like ruined
refinery.
refinery
Yeah,
or whatever.
and they're acting really weird, not saying anything. Like they ask for like Woody Harrelson is like, "Can I get a drink?" Like, "I heard you make really good whiskey around here." And the woman or guy or whatever doesn't say, the bartender doesn't say anything. And he's like, "Okay." And then the Marauders come
Mm,
and they're just like, these people had their tongues cut out. And do you know who cut their tongues out? And one of the older women draws out the symbol that was on Amelia Clark's
wrist
wrist.
or whatever. Yeah.
And they're like Crimson Dawn.
This movie is way too long.
It is. It's like
Yeah.
2 fucking hours long. It
Yeah.
can be skipped over. Like you could watch it in half the time. I feel like. But yeah, they're like, Crimson Dawn are criminals, and we want to fight Crimson Dawn. And I'm like, it's a crime syndicate. Literally everybody in this movie knows this. This isn't news. So that'll be the climax. For you guys, it'll be a few seconds to a minute. For us, it's gonna be a grand total of, like, good lord, I think like 2 hours and 10 minutes or some insane nonsense for this movie. So you'll hear our thoughts when we get back on this climax of sort of kind of epic Fast and Furious proportions when we go watch Solo, a Star Wars story. And that was Solo, a Star Wars story. How are we feeling about it, guys?
I did not like it whatsoever.
You didn't like it?
No.
Wow.
I didn't enjoy one bit of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Not even a little bit.
I think the writing was horrible.
Yeah.
I think the choices for actors were horrible. I mean, I think some actors should have had more lines in the movie, or more important, like Dryden Voss. And,
Yeah.
you know,
I think Dryden Voss should have had a bigger presence
yeah.
in the movie. I definitely think like he was kind of underused. I mean, I didn't need him like part of the gang the whole time, but maybe like have Amelia Clarke talking to him. I think there could have been things where it's like have Amelia Clarke talking to him the whole time, and it kind of gives a little bit more precedent of she could betray him. So like at the end of the movie, for anybody who's listening to this who hasn't seen it, go check out our commentary on our website under commentaries for Solo: A Star Wars Story. You can have a good time. But at the end of the movie, you get this kind of double cross times four or whatever the hell it is, where Han Solo lies to everybody except maybe Amelia Clarke and fakes that he faked the coaxium, but it's actually real, and everybody's get mixed up, and Beckett betrays him. They should have made it so that like Amelia Clarke's talking to Dryden Voss the whole time, and it makes you think she betrayed him for a split second, but then she didn't, and then Beckett revealed.
Yeah.
There's so much shit though in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of unnecessary stuff, and
Yeah.
it just dragged on way too long.
It did. It really
Yeah.
did.
And the weirdest thing is they set it up for another like little prequel to the original
Yeah.
4, you know?
Yeah.
Well, no, original, the 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I thought was weird.
I thought it was weird because like Rogue One, for example, did a really good job just kind of like cleaning up after itself, so to speak. Like everyone died, and then we're gonna start up right where 4 is beginning.
Yeah.
You know, actually, now that I think about it, how the fuck did Darth Maul get out of that goddamn thing in episode 1?
Oh no, okay. So this I'm gonna nerd out for a minute here. So they kind of retconned this whole deal in the Clone Wars television series. So what happened was he didn't die, however the fuck that goes down.
Yeah.
He doesn't die. He winds up on this like garbage landfill planet, and he cobbles together these legs for himself, like robot legs. There's like mechanical things. And there's this whole subplot in the show where like his brother is recruited by Count Dooku,
Okay.
and then there's some betrayal that goes on. And so what we were talking about during the commentary is the planet that Darth Maul and his brother are from is run by these like weird witch women, and they're like the controlling class. And so they make his brother this like fucking beast of a Sith guy, and they're like, if you go find your brother, the two of you combined will be so outrageously powerful, you'll be able to get your revenge on Count Dooku for using you like that. So there's this whole thing where he finds Darth Maul, and Darth Maul's like atrophied and insane living on this planet.
Yeah.
Brings him back to the witch women. The witch women give him like people robot legs and like sort of revitalize him.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole angle he's running is kind of what you see in the show or in this movie is he's coalescing all the crime syndicates under his command and sort of acts as this third faction during the Clone Wars.
Gotcha.
But the problem I have with the Darth Maul fucking appearance is in those same television shows, they show you how Darth Maul dies. Like Obi-Wan kills him on Tatooine
Yeah.
in this badass samurai, like one quick swipe of his lightsaber and Darth Maul's dead. And Darth Maul's like dying in his arms, and he looks. It's like old man Obi-Wan. He looks at him, and he had seen Luke in a vision, and he's like, "Just tell me he's the chosen one who's going to save us all." And Obi-Wan's like, "He totally is," even though Obi-Wan's totally wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Darth Maul dies. Like he's dead right there. So like when you show me him in this movie, you either need to give me a Darth Maul movie that's somehow gonna squeeze between 4 and Solo without touching Rogue One, or just don't do that thing.
Yeah. And I just, again, I understood
Yeah,
Crimson Dawn,
yeah.
but it's stupid.
I think they should have just had Dryden Voss be the head of it.
Yeah.
Because it goes back to what we were talking. I mean, we talked about this during the commentary. You can go with us now. That commentary. We're adding so much fluff to this movie. Like the whole we were talking about it. The monster in the maelstrom pit.
Yeah.
More monster, less Empire. Like make the Empire be blocking them, make them fly in there, and the Tie Fighters be like, nope, and just get out of there. They're dead. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
And they're trying to get away, and then they're chased by this monster.
Yep.
Instead, we spend a long time on these TIE fighters. Big, huge monster appears and we'll kill it with a black hole.
Yep.
Whatever. I personally don't think this movie's bad. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think it would be better, the script would be better as not a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like, and we talked about this too, there's so many better movies in here. Lando movie, even the Emilia Clarke movie. Like, what's going on with these people? Shit, we talk about Chewbacca trying to find his
His
family.
Yep.
That would be
Yeah.
a dope ass movie. I'd watch the shit out of that. It can be him roaring the whole time with subtitles. I'd watch it because that would be cool. Whew. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things this movie could have done better. But I guess in true so what happens next fashion, we can do the usual and see if we could come up with something better. So Patrick, being the person who liked this movie the least, how would you have changed, from the end of what we talked about, the climax of this movie, how would you have changed this ending?
What did we say the climax point
So
was?
the climax would be, I think we stopped after explaining what Crimson Dawn was,
Yeah.
and sort of
And
Han
they were on
concocting a plan.
the, what was the planet name?
Serene?
Serene,
I
something like
think,
something like
yeah,
that.
something
Okay.
like that. Yeah,
Well,
everything's taking
to
place.
me, that point, there's nothing really that much could change that would improve the movie because maybe if we said this Loss or whatever his name was
Yeah,
is like the head of the Crimson Dawn, and he's like, I am the Crimson Dawn or something like that,
yeah, yeah,
and that Amir Clark still killed him, but instead she took it as herself and became the head of the Crimson Dawn
yeah.
Syndicate. But I do like the little factor that Han basically funded the rebellion. We talked about that in the commentary a little bit.
Yeah.
That he
The
was
startup money for
startup money for the rebellion. Him and Chewie get away. I agree with him killing Beckett at the end. That was pretty good. Um, yeah, not really much to change from that climactic point to the end of the movie.
Well, then I guess the better question would be if you could have changed one thing in this movie that you think would have made it entirely better, what would it be?
Han Solo's the choice of who played Han Solo. I think that would have made it a ton better. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that would have been the changing factor and would have probably made people a little bit happier about it.
Yeah, I think he doesn't do the best job. And I mean, a lot of that, they had to get this guy acting lessons in the middle of filming,
Yeah,
and it's just, I don't know, it shows because you can see kind of where scenes were shot between those instances, right? So you have, this is like, okay, I'm cringing a little bit. And then other parts where I'm like, yeah, he's doing a better
yeah,
job. And it just kind of shows it paid off, but you did it in the middle of filming, and I can see it.
yeah.
Amber, what about you? If we were going to change, we'll just do the whole start from the get-go. Like, if you're going to change one thing about this movie to make it better, or if you just want to change the ending, what would you do?
I think for the ending, at least, I would have Emilia Clarke's character die. I
Oh,
think that would
okay.
be a
Okay.
lot better for like Han Solo as a person Just so like so that way if you're going to create another movie, like you're not gonna have her because that's just like she's not relevant,
Yeah,
to any plot after this. So I think like with her dying, that'd be good. And then probably not having Darth Maul
yeah.
at all.
I mean, I think Darth Maul's a great fan service, and I'll admit I was like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
boy, that's cool." But then the minute you start, cutting the surface of that, you're like, "Well, this is sort of dumb." I
Yeah.
mean, we were talking about like we know how he dies. Like it just when you know the end of a character and you're not seeing the beginning, like they try to pay this off
Mhm.
with like you saw how he dies, now see how he began. Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
If that wasn't the tagline for this movie, it should have been. But you know how Darth Maul dies. I mean, whether you watch Episode 1 or whether you watch the television series, is you see him die in every iteration. You're watching him now like he's alive, okay, but like I know how he dies after this. Do I really care about what he does? Is it gonna amount to anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you need an Emilia Clarke or Darth Maul movie to fill that in to have maybe her kill Darth Maul, and then she ascends to this throne of Crimson Dawn or whatever. But then you just go to what you said, Patrick. Is like she might as well have just been the head of Crimson Dawn the entire time after.
Then okay, then you have to make another movie to connect
Exactly.
it to the rest. It's just like
Yeah.
Disney. You're trying too hard now.
Right.
You're overthinking
Yeah.
the Star Wars universe right now.
Yeah.
Overthinking it.
Well, that's what we said in our last episode with John Wick. Is like I like John Wick 1 because it's its own isolated movie, and you weren't approaching it like we're gonna make a movie to get to another. And like that's one of the things I think the first time I really got hit with that was back when the Pirates of the Caribbean 2 came out. Because up until then, most of the movies are series. It's like, oh, we had one successful one. Let's make that story extend, but we already have an isolated story. You watch Pirates of the Caribbean 2, I remember seeing that, and like it ends on a cliffhanger, and I remember just like, I'm really not satisfied. Like, what the hell is this? You made a movie that does nothing but bridge the gap between 1 and 3. And that's kind of what you're running into here is like, you can stop here and you're fine. I'm kind of left with some cliffhangers like, what does Emilia Clarke do? Does it even matter?
Yeah.
What does Darth Maul do? Does that even matter? And it's just like, I don't really care about what Han Solo does anymore because I know what he will do and I know how he'll die, so I'm fine. But if you just made this to lead into another story movie, which they've already confirmed they're not doing anytime soon,
Mhm.
we're
Right.
not doing any more of these because this one quote unquote tanked, even though it made millions of dollars. I mean, it cost a bunch, so I don't think it made a big profit, but I'm
No,
pretty
I
sure it
don't
made
think
a
so.
profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, just don't do that. Don't just make it. If you're gonna make again, Rogue One encapsulated in its own world. They cleaned it up. I think Amber, you're right. Emilia Clarke should have died because that's what they did in Rogue One. Take these ancillary characters you're using for this plot, like Woody Harrelson dies. You don't see
Mm-hmm.
him anymore. That's cool.
Yeah.
Kill him. Let it reverberate into the character because I could believe Han Solo as that much more of the scoundrel we see him in A New Hope if he actually like lost somebody who meant that much to him. Like you build up him and Emilia Clarke's relationship the entire time, and then she doesn't die. She just kind of
Mm.
leaves him, and he now is like, okay, whatever. I guess I'm gonna go on with my life. I was like, let her die. Let that gives it gives his relationship with Leia that much more like gravity to it.
Right.
It makes him seem so much more of like a I don't give a fuck about anybody but me and my own, aka me, Chewie, and my ship. Like, because other people will screw you. It's just like you could have done something better. Do you have anything else you'd want to change in there, Amber?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. I think for me personally, the ending, I think I would have done the Dryden Voss is the head of it. Oh wait, like the whole movie, Dryden Voss is the head of it the whole time. No Darth Maul. I like it, but I can't get behind it. I think Emilia Clarke having more, like, making it a little bit more obvious, like, this was her plan the whole time. Like, not just a, I'm gonna kill him and I guess I'm just gonna do
Mm-hmm.
this thing. I kind of wish the movie was like, she clearly has her own angle in all of this. And I think it tried a little too hard to be like, Woody Harrelson's like, dude, she's gonna screw you. And Han be like, no, she's not. And the movies say, no, she's not. Woody Harrelson's just kind of a dick. I wish they had a little bit of her, like, no, I actually, like, I'm gonna kind of use Han because that, in these 3 years, is what I've learned you have to do to survive.
Right.
Okay. And maybe instead of like Woody Harrelson, like backstabbing him.
Hmm.
Like they could have gotten to a huge argument, like just one argument about her, and just been like, "Hey, she's like trying to screw you over." And like, "You
Hmm.
need to listen to me, man." He's like, "No, you're wrong," because I've known
Hmm.
her. And like he could just leave,
Yeah.
not seen him for like, a while. And then right when she screws him over, he comes back and like saves him or something like
Mm,
that.
so
Hmm.
like kind of flip the
Yeah.
script, have
I
Woody
believe so.
Harrelson be the, but he still die. I think still
Yeah,
have to
like he could
Yeah.
die.
still die, but still that's like,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think Amelia Clark killing him would have been the
Yeah.
move. Then in that case, have her shoot him or better yet, stab him with those
Mhm.
little vibroblade things, like just
Yeah.
kill him. Yeah, so I mean, this might be one of the first few movies we've done where it is a very mixed group here. I mean, let's go through. Well, I think first I've looked up a few reviews, and I mean, this is coming off the tail of the Last Jedi here. So I mean, there's a lot of different parties who like or really dislike this movie. Patrick, I think you're gonna love this one. This is a 5-star review from Amazon. So I brought up a couple of reviews, 5 stars, 1 stars. I'm looking around. Title. Oh, this is by TF. Back in 2018, roughly after I guess this movie came out. Title: Heinrich is Solo.
Jesus, man. You obviously might have been blind and deaf.
Solo far exceeded my expectations. It seems like The Last Jedi just came out. It did about 5 months ago. And I would have preferred if Disney could space these releases out by 12 months, but that has nothing to do with the content of Solo. I was definitely hesitant about how any cast could own this story, but they did. Speaking of the story, no spoilers. It works well and then really comes together right at the end. Realistically, setting up two more. I'm sorry. It comes together right at the end, realistically setting up two more Ehrenreich movies.
Nope.
Ehrenreich has taken the Solo mantle from Harrison Ford.
Never, dumbass.
Ehrenreich is the young Solo.
Oh,
I
jeez.
called this out because that was the number one issue I had with this movie coming into it. No one else could play Solo, but Ehrenreich won me over, and the rest of the cast was excellent. And I am looking forward to seeing the majority of them again in the future. Solo felt fresh, a new start in the Star Wars saga. Background: my favorite Star Wars episodes are the original theatrical releases of 4, 5, and 6. Like, you're trying to appeal to all the
Yeah,
original
yeah,
trilogy
good
people?
try
Oh,
there, buddy.
man.
But you failed there. There's not going to be any more Solo movies, as seen by the box office results of this movie. And Alden Ehrenreich is, as far as I know, not acting in anything else after this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, I don't think he's in anything.
And someone could be, but what did he say? Someone could be playing.
Yeah, could be playing Solo,
Yeah.
yes. Or,
Someone
I'm
else
sorry, yeah,
could be
could be
playing
play Solo. I'm
solo.
sorry, it could
Could
be
be
play
play
Solo.
solo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking TF stands for the fuck because I
Yeah.
don't know what the hell that review was. I mean, I'm not super anti this movie, but I am definitely not that into it. Like,
Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
into it at all.
I think of all of the Star Wars movies, prequels included, hate me if you want, I think this was the weakest one. I think
Yep.
it doesn't mean it's the worst one, but I think it's the weakest. Even like
Yeah.
rewatching, I was not a big fan of 8, but rewatching it, I'm like, it's still done really well to where it's like, at least, it's visually appealing and stuff's cool, but like this one, I'm just like, yeah, it's a heist movie. I mean, it could be, I don't know, we already got the heist movie. Rogue One was the heist movie. Why
Yeah.
are we doing another heist movie and only like kind of doing it to have to do? Because I liked Rogue One felt refreshing and nice to me when I saw it. This just felt like, are you doing Rogue One again? We do have some 1-star reviews. This one is by Swazi, back in November 2018. 1 star, worst Star Wars movie ever. If I could have given this neg stars, I would have. Since Disney has taken over the series, it has been going downhill fast. Between bad acting and promoting feminism narratives, this movie sucked. The Last Jedi comes in second. It's too bad. Since have been watching Star Wars since it came out in the 70s. I'm feeling a theme in these reviews of like we have to validate ourselves by saying we
Yeah.
like the old ones. There's a good bit of the a lot of these reviews are very like we hate this movie not because of its content but because of its or not because of the movie but because of its content. So like the next one star by Chris is Lando is pansexual. Really? Like we needed to know or be subjected to that? Thanks, Disney, for inserting something so obscene into a galaxy far, far away. Title for that one was Liberal Trash.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I really want to see Lord and Miller's idea
Reviews.
for the. I would rather see their movie than a Ron Howard movie for this.
I'd be curious just to see it. I mean, I'm not all like, give me that Snyder cut
Mhm.
Yeah,
kind of way, but I am kind of. I mean, they filmed so much. They filmed the whole movie, didn't, or
yeah,
more or less the
Yeah.
whole
more or
movie.
less. And
Yeah, I'd be curious about it. I'd be curious to see what it would look like because I didn't realize they were writers on the CW Flash series,
yeah,
and like that at least. I mean, that was really good for a while. I haven't watched it recently, but I know that they kind of brought that vibe they were working with over there to Solo, and that's what they didn't like about it was the sort of comedic bit. And I'm like, well, I mean, like it worked for that show.
yeah.
Like
And
the
that's
show
his
would be
character
serious.
too. He's not a.
It's weird. I don't mind that they got Ron Howard. I think he
Well,
did a good
you
enough
can't
job.
blame him.
I'm
You
not
know,
blaming him on that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he did what he could with what he
Yeah.
had.
I mean, at the end of the day, they still had that script.
Yeah, that's a good
Like,
point.
I mean, they had whatever script everyone was working with.
Yeah,
Apparently, the big problems with Lord and Miller were that they were doing a lot of ad lib stuff, so they were ignoring the script and making them do whatever. Like, I think like when Woody Harrelson's like, "I hurt my thumbs," I'm like, that's totally like a little like
Mhm.
yeah,
throw some humor in there, and he's like, "Okay, fine." I honestly feel kind of bad for Ron Howard that he had to deal with this.
yeah. I do too.
I'd also read it in the good old trivia that says everything from something interesting to something like bone dead right in front of you. That they had asked him to do Star Wars movies before. I guess they had asked him to do Phantom Menace, and he said, "No way, that's way too big. And like that's a lot of that's heavy. Like I don't
Yeah,
want to do that." Which at the time, of course, it was. You had these huge movies that like known around the world. You really want him to be the first person in 20 years to do this? Like, ooh, okay. He was like, no, and I guess they kept asking him with the new one and everything. He kept declining, and this is the movie they finally got him for. And part of me almost feels like it was pity.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I'm sorry. Okay, fine, I'll fix your movie. But I guess final thoughts here, Patrick. If you got final thoughts, and then what would you rate this movie?
I give it a 4.6 out of 10, and that's
Oh,
because I
okay.
think Harrelson, you know, the background actors, not the main ones, players did a decent enough job to warrant that. But overall, I did not like it. Kind of feel bad that's part of the Star Wars universe, and I've seen the guy who plays Han Solo and other stuff, and he can act and other stuff, but this just wasn't the role for him.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's all I got. And
All right, Amber, how you final thoughts and a rating on this movie?
I think I would give it a 5 out of 10. I mean, like Patrick said, like the actors weren't bad by any means. Like they're not bad actors,
Hmm.
but just in this movie, I think, especially for like Emilia Clarke and then Alden, I don't think they were fit for the roles.
Yeah, I think we said
So,
it in the commentary. They really don't seem like a chemistry
yeah.
with each other.
yeah,
Yeah, there's like
Yeah,
no chemistry like whatsoever. Like there's more chemistry with like the background actors
yeah.
like between each other and stuff. And then just the way they had the plot going, like there were things in there that really shouldn't have been there. Just like things they added like for the fan base that was just like we don't really need that.
Yeah, there was
So,
quite a bit of that in this.
yeah.
The whole like this is where he got his
And was
signature
it
gun and all
it's
that.
like was it really Solo? Like a
Yeah,
solo Star Wars movie?
yeah. It felt like, and I guess I'll jump off that and give my bit. Is it felt like the movie was using a lot of support for the character, and I don't know if that was scripted. I don't know if that's because of the failings apparently on him as an actor that we've all heard about. I'm just wondering, like, the movie felt like it was less of a solo movie and more of a movie featuring Solo.
Yeah.
Like this movie could have been, Woody Harrelson featuring Han Solo, Chewbacca featuring Han Solo,
Yeah.
Emilia Clarke featuring Han Solo. Like this movie could have been all those things. And I think now I'm thinking about it more, I think one of the biggest failings it has is that it gives you the perspective of everything through Han Solo's eyes. And in this movie, Han Solo is so ignorant of everything in the galaxy that it's just like I feel like it's trying like him they're trying to recapture kind of what they did with Finn in the seventh movie where he's like ignorant of a lot of stuff because he's just been this isolated stormtrooper.
Yeah.
But what they don't do is they don't do enough to go like Finn. They go, well, he actually does know all this shit about this aspect of the world, whereas Han Solo is just like he doesn't know anything. He's like a child, and everyone else knows. Chewie knows more than him about the world that they're living in, and he's just like, oh, what, oh, whatever, okay, because they never do enough to like educate him and therefore the audience through him, and it kind of makes you not get into it. Like Luke Skywalker was ignorant of a lot of stuff, but they have these scenes where Obi-Wan's telling him what the Clone Wars are
Yeah.
and shit, and as the audience you get submerged in the world, and that doesn't really happen in Solo. It's more of a experiential thing. So like they're like having him experience the world, but if you're not having that kind of handed to you, you're not getting it. And I think that's where it really lacks. And I think that might be really why a lot of people don't like it. I mean, there's all these psychotic misogynist people on the internet apparently who don't like it because you have one droid who shouts droids' rights and they just associate that with women. It's
Yeah.
like whatever. I mean, like that. Those scenes kind of weren't my favorite. I feel like again. I mean, it's kind of like Avengers. Is like it's a little on the nose. I don't think it takes away from the movie at all. I think unlike Avengers, I didn't like it very much.
Yeah.
This was just a little. It felt a little forced to you because it didn't really do a whole lot for the plot until it did.
The right scene
Yeah.
and things like that. Yeah.
And I think if they built that up a little bit, it would have been cool. But I think out of 10, I think I'll give it a solid like 5, 6, 5.5, 5.5. Because I enjoy it for what it is. It's until I realize or remember that it's Star Wars, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'd love to hear what you guys thought of this movie. Do you agree with us? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Do you think it's liberal trash, or do you think it's the next, progressive dream or whatever? We'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and hit up those comment sections on our website, swhn19.com. Or you can always feel free to tweet at us on Twitter or check out our Instagram. Check out our other episodes. Prior to this, last week we released a John Wick episode 0, the first episode we ever did. It sounds like absolute ass, but it was a good time, and I think one of our categorically better episodes as far as content goes. I wish we could go back in time and just hand ourselves the equipment to a better one, but hey, it works. There's also other episodes. I mean, we got Full Metal Jacket, Hereditary. If you're into that movie, you can hear our thoughts on it. We also have some commentaries for this movie and Hereditary and others. So feel free to hit those up on our website. We're always happy to hear from you guys, our comments and just thoughts, critiques or whatever. Just don't, call us liberal trash for any reason. We hope you're really enjoying the podcast. Let us know what you think. And
Next time, Amber will be the one, and all I got to say for that is Moto Surf.
Yep, it's a movie I haven't watched yet, but I know what it is. So get ready, Amber, because I'm a little scared for
Oh,
you. I
damn.
have some
This is
thoughts.
Patrick's payback for Wrath of Khan.
This is
to both of you
Patrick's
guys.
payback for Wrath of Khan, indeed, and he's subjecting me to watch it alone. And Amber, you at least get to watch it with us making jokes about it. But, ooh, especially when I saw the cast for this movie come up. But check out our Instagram for hints on what that one will be. And you know what? So I think that's all we got for Solo. My name is Thomas,
I'm Amber.
And I'm Patrick.
and we will see you in a galaxy far, far